Hello and welcome to Diecast Restos. I'm Jason and today I'm working on this Matchbox MB156 Ford Escort Cabriolet. These were in the Matchbox mainline between 1985 and 1989, though it was only available until 1986 in North America. I'm going to be fixing the crushed window frame and then customising this one using some authentic paint and wheels, then detailing it. The finished article I hope to have looking like this shortly though. I've long had these 4-pot XR3i wheels which, while I'm not a massive fan of them, I think will look great on this model. The model replicates the third generation of European Ford Escort which came out in 1980. The Cabriolet followed in 1983 in two trim levels, XR3i and Gear Spec, with each badged as 1.6i and 1.6 respectively. This explains the silver XR3i tampos applied to each side of the casting. Matchbox introduced their Escort Cabrio in 1985, designed by Victor Lewis in 1:56 scale. The first versions were made in Macau and were painted white. They had grey plastic seating and dashboard interior mouldings, and a black plastic insert which formed the front grille and bumper, sills, roll bar, folded convertible roof tonneau and rear bumper. It was an incredibly smart piece of design work. The metal base shared the body colour and it had blue XR3i tampos on the sides. Its window piece also formed the model's headlights. The first version could come with either the 8-dot or slightly larger 5-arch wheels. The 8 dots, as ever, look much nicer in my opinion. That said, I think the 8 dots are the best original wheels ever made for a model of this scale. Let me know your favourites down in the comments. The model remained in its white livery for 2 years before it was pulled from the North American mainline. The rest of world market continued to receive it in this colour scheme for 1987. It also appeared in the Twin Pack series between 1987 and 1989. The casting was modified to include a tow hook base support, and so was the black plastic moulding to include the hook itself. These modified Escorts were now made in Thailand, though evidently the tooling must also have been changed in Macau too, as mine was made there, yet it has a tow hook. The Twin Pack Escort was paired with an updated 9D boat and trailer with sea spray decals on its sides. 1987 also saw the Escort released into other spin-off series in a variety of different designs. It was painted red in a multi-pack release with white XR3i side tampos. These were joined by a large Ford badge as well. It saw a release in the modern Superfast range featuring the attractive starburst wire wheels. It was painted white but had red and black Ford No. 3 tampos across the bonnet, boot and sides. Another release was in the Laser Wheels line, this time painted in metal flake blue with white and red Ford No. 3 tampos as before. Of course, it also wore those iconic Laserdisc wheels. Then in 1988, the rest of world mainline Escort turned blue, the same as mine with the silver side tampos. These only had 8-dot wheels and could be made in Macau or Thailand. I'm pretty sure that they only came with tow hooks. 1989 would be its final year of mainline production, though it was available with laser wheels until 1990. It saw a release in the Motor City MC11 multi-pack, which is something of a collector's item. This set featured the blue Escort alongside the popular BMW 323i Cabriolet, with a convoy Kenworth car transporter. It had one final outing in a 1998 5-pack. This was painted white, but for the first time, the interior moulding changed colour to red. I'm sure that there were other designs too over the years, but we'll leave the history of the model there. The paint on the base was pretty resilient, so that had to go into a bath of liquid paint stripper in addition to the caustic soda. I've previously worked on the predecessor to the 3rd generation Escort on a couple of occasions. My restoration of a green Matchbox RS2000 model continues to be one of the most popular videos on the channel. Ford Europe released the all-new Escort in September 1980, but development on it had effectively begun back in 1974, before the Mark II's launch, with development of the CVH engine. Ford's intention was for the Escort to be a world car, consolidating the replacements for the North American Pinto and European Mark II Escort under a single model architecture. However, during development, American and European design teams diverged in thinking, which led to significant differences in the final product. While the two Escorts shared the same basic shape, the American and European cars shared no interchangeable body parts. The only common components are the CVH engine and the ATX automatic transmission. The suspension is of the same basic design, but again, the components are not interchangeable. While the wheelbase was also the same, the US car is longer and wider, with most featuring more chrome trim than its European counterpart. Additionally, the North American Escort never received the additional body styles of 3-door wagon, 2-door convertible or 2-door van that the Euro model did, nor did it have a sedan derivative named the Orion in Europe. The Escort was quite the departure from the Mark II, adopting front-wheel drive, an all-new body style, all-new engines and fully independent suspension. The body shell alone was 75 kilos lighter than the old car, yet Ford claimed it was stiffer. From launch, the car was available in base trim called Popular, L, GL, Gear and XR3 spec. Differences included GL trim and above receiving soft feel dashboards, while Popular and L models had hard plastic mouldings. They were also simpler with fewer spaces for switchgear. The lower spec cars also had partial door cards without armrests, vinyl seating, no rear parcel shelf and no push button tailgate release. These models, understandably, sold poorly. Despite this, the Escort was voted European Car of the Year for 1981, and by 1982 it had become Britain's best-selling car, a title it would hold for the next 8 years. A 5-speed manual gearbox was added in mid-1982, which was standard paired with the 1600cc engines and an option on the 1.3 litre cars. It was also available with an old Ford Kent-based 1.1 litre engine, while a CVH engine of the same capacity was quickly discontinued in 1982. Ford offered a range of features, either as standard or as optional extras, depending on the trim level. These included a tilt and slide sunroof, central locking and electric windows. While power steering was available on the US car, it wasn't on the European Escort. The ATX automatic gearbox designed for the US car arrived in 1983. A weak 1600 diesel engine with worse performance than the 1.1 litre was also offered from 1983. Ford launched the Escort in estate trim with 3 doors initially. A 5-door version followed in 1983, the same year that the booted saloon called the Orion became available. It was also that year that the Cabriolet was first offered. Made by coach builder Carman, it was the first convertible offered by Ford Europe since the 1960s Corsair. As I said earlier, these were available in XR3i and Gear trim levels, with only the 1.6 or 1.6 injection engines. The Gear was later dropped. The Escort had initially received criticism for its suspension, with positive camber on the front and negative at the rear, earning it a reputation for a harsh and unforgiving ride quality. From September 1983, it received the revised suspension mounts from the new Orion, plus the steering rack from the larger Sierra was added. These changes coincided with minor upgrades across the range, which included revised trim levels and new steering wheels. It also had new badging, an improved sound system, and the base model had its dashboard brought in line with the rest of the lineup. To compete with Volkswagen's Golf GTI, the hot hatch XR3 was developed, which had a tuned 1.6 litre engine with twin-choke carb, uprated suspension, and cosmetic upgrades. It lacked fuel injection and a 5-speed gearbox, but these arrived in 1982. An RS model was developed in Cologne, which created 113 horsepower due to computerized ignition and a modified head. In October 1984, the RS Turbo with 130 horsepower was launched. 5,000 were planned for homologation purposes, but due to demand, 8,604 were built, almost all in diamond white. This despite criticism about the car's chassis. These all featured RS alloy wheels, Recaro seats, and a limited slip differential. Only 3 RS turbos were finished in black, one of which was built especially for Princess Diana. The Escort was facelifted in March 1986, which, confusingly, can be referred to as a Mark IV or a Mark III facelift. It featured minimal changes over its predecessor, but it did borrow styling cues from the recently introduced Scorpio with its smooth nose and straight rear light clusters. But now let's turn back to my custom build, where I'm reassembling it. After trying to polish up the damaged windscreen, I noticed some of the marks on it were not coming out. So I decided to gift it a very period sun visor, and while I was looking for a suitable strip, found the bonnet decals that were so often seen on XR3s. I hoped that the stylised Escort sun strip was enough of a distraction from the damage and permanent marking that lie beneath. With all of the components in place, all the model needs is a pair of 3mm M2 laptop screws to secure it. Here was how my Matchbox Ford Escort Cabriolet appeared before I set about repairing that indented windscreen, recolouring it and detailing it. Sometimes damage like this can be pretty terminal, but thankfully I was able to bash it flat again. Sadly though, there were lasting effects left on the windscreen, so I tried to conceal it in some unusual and creative ways. I wanted this to look as period as possible, and here's how it turned out. The Escort now sits on a set of XR3 wheels in authentic Ford Carnival red, with some very 80s accoutrements in the form of the bonnet decal and sun visor. I added in some styrene strips beneath the axles to lower the ride height a touch. I quite liked the grey interior as well, so I opted to detail it as is instead of repainting it. I also kept the tow hook because it isn't completely unfeasible on an Escort, unlike some of Matchbox's other offerings. If you enjoyed this build and the video as a whole, leave a like. Tell me what you did or didn't agree with in the comments. If you aren't yet, please subscribe, or better still, help support the channel by becoming a YouTube member or a pledger on Patreon. Big thanks to those who already are, especially you guys listed in the outro credits. But all that leaves me to say is thanks for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.